Welcome back to Just Keep Skating. I bet you didn't think we'd be seeing one of these videos on this channel, huh? Been a long time since I did a wheelbasey type video. Anyways, what the heck is truck geometry and how do we figure it out? So I got to admit something. I'm a little bit ignorant about a lot of truck geometries, and this is going to be an experiment for me too. And if you want to get a little more in depth, just read what all the truck nerds from Slap are going to say in the comments. Now let's get right into it. So the first thing we need to look at when thinking about truck geometry is wheelbase. So wheelbase on a skateboard is measured from the inside bolts to the inside bolts. Typical ones are 14¼ inches, 14, 14½, up to 15. That's your typical range. Now the reason it's not measured from axle to axle like a car or a truck is because different trucks have different wheelbases. So let's say you put a couple of trucks here, just pretend these are both Thunders. So if I have Thunders sitting on the bolts here, my axles are going to be further apart. On the same board, if I have two sets of Ace, my axles are going to be the furthest in out of any truck brand. And I've chosen the big 4 truck brands. It used to be the big 3, but I would say Ace has definitely gained enough traction that they are definitely the big 4 now. Okay, but you can see my little rig for how I measured wheelbase. Now the wheelbase came out almost exactly as I expected. So Ace is the truck with the closest wheelbase. And what I measured was 427 millimeters. We're going to be going metric here. So 427 millimeters. The next one that I knew was a little wider than Ace, but still on the smaller side, is Indy. Indy measured 432, so 5 millimeters wider. The next one I measured was Thunder. Thunder measured 437, so that's again 5 millimeters wider. We're now a whole centimeter wider than the Aces. And so you can see why you have to measure wheelbase on the deck, not the trucks, because as soon as you change your brand of trucks, it varies. Now this is the one that surprised me because I had always assumed that Venture was the widest, but what I was measuring anyways was actually 436, so 1 mil smaller than a Thunder. So I had always assumed that Venture was the widest, but it's not what I measured. Anyways, moving on. So one set of measurements doesn't make something geometry, that just makes something a distance. The geometry comes into play when we start measuring what is the lean of the Kingpin. And again, you're gonna have to forgive my ignorance if there is more things that contribute to the geometry of it. I only know a couple. So for me, this is gonna be the exciting part of the video. I wanna start measuring the lean of the Kingpins. And then we'll try to deduct what it is that makes trucks feel and turn differently based on the unique properties that each truck has. Stumbled a little bit on my words, must be time for some tea. Okay, so I have here a Klein digital level, not level, but angle reader. I don't know what it's called. Doesn't even, digital angle gauge, it says right there on it. Okay, I've also taken great care to level my tabletop here in every direction. So it's nice and level, so we're gonna be getting good readings here. And you'll have to forgive me, I'm not gonna turn it around because it's very sensitive, and as soon as I start turning it around, it's gonna read different than what I see. You just have to know that I'm telling you the truth. Let's measure the Ace, which is known to be one of the most turny trucks. I'm reading a pretty even 17, maybe 16.9. So let's just call it 17 degrees of tilt on that Kingpin. So it's got the smallest wheelbase and it has 17 degrees of tilt. Next, let's check Indy. Let's see what those guys are doing for their Kingpin angle. And let's see what my table's reading. Yes, 0, 0. So I did level my table. Okay, we have 15.7. So Indy's Kingpin sticks up a bit more. So we not only have a wider wheelbase, the Kingpin goes up more. Now Indies are known to not be as turny as Ace, but in my opinion, Indy actually has one of my favorite turns. It's still a little twitchy, it's still pretty carvy, but it doesn't dive down as fast and quickly as an Ace does. It has because of their height, their 55 millimeter axle height, which is one of the taller ones out there, you get a long, even, really nice carve. Like I love Indies. What can I say? Sorry guys, to the haters out there. Okay, next let's check the Thunder. I'm really interested to see what the lean is on a Thunder. Thunders are known to have a quick, sharp turn, but not a deep turn. Like personally, I get wheel bite really bad on Thunders, and that's partly because they're lower. 53.5 mil axle height on the 8.25 and up. The 147s, which are 8-inch wide, actually have a lower axle height, somewhere closer to 50 mil. But the truck height isn't so much about truck geometry. We're talking angles today. Although I suppose, if you look at it three-dimensionally, that is part of the angle, and that's what's going to determine the pop feel a little bit. But I'm more looking at the turning today. Okay, Thunder, what are you? 20 degrees. So the Thunder has the craziest turn in there, 20 degrees. When I say craziest turn in, I mean it has the steepest Kingpin angle. Steepest? Most laid down? I don't know what you want to call it. Let's just say the Thunders go down the most so far. We haven't checked Venture yet. So that's not a big surprise to me. That must be where Thunder's getting its sharp turn from. Because what I do know about Thunders, when you look at these and you look at it in relation to the bolt holes, it's pretty straight up. Like Thunders have so far the widest wheelbase that we've read. Yet, because of that steep Kingpin angle, or I should say, I don't know what to call it, you guys. Steep is straight up and down. But because of the largest angle on the Kingpin, they get that tight turn. Okay, Ventures. What is your angle? 21 degrees. Yeah, 20.5 to 21 degrees. I'm just gonna call Venture 21. So here's the weird thing. Ventures don't turn like Thunders. They have a different turn. They have more lean than turn. So this is where I'm confused, and there must be another aspect of geometry that we now need the truck nerds at Slap to help us solve, because yeah, there's something else going on here. Ventures are one of the most stable trucks out there. The fact that they're taller means you get less wheel bite, unless you're talking about the Venture lows, different animal. These are the Venture highs at 53.5 mils, whereas the Thunder I think is only a 52. I might have said it wrong, I might have called it a 53.5, but Thunders are 52. So now I'm confused. The wheelbase and the Kingpin angle are really similar on Ventures, but they're a very different feeling truck. I'm gonna quickly look at the hanger and see if I can figure something else out. I don't think I can. Yep, I'm not seeing anything remarkably different about a Venture and a Thunder, but this is where my ignorance as just a truck riding skateboarder versus a truck designing skateboarder is coming into play. Anyways, you guys, that's about all I have to say about truck geometry. The two things that I can figure out that contribute the most to geometry are the wheelbase and the combination of the wheelbase and the Kingpin lean. So hopefully you guys found that really interesting. I'm super curious if anybody that knows more about trucks can help add to this conversation, even though I've been insulting you, calling you truck nerds the whole time, while I'm the guy sitting here with a table and a digital angle gauge. Anyways, that's all I have to say. I was just really curious to find this stuff out and take a look at it. Ooh, you know what? There's one thing we didn't look at yet. One thing. Okay, Thunders have a conical bushing. That's gonna help it turn a little easier. Ventures have a barrel bushing, I think is what it's called. Now, let's look at this. Ventures have a lower bushing height, much lower, and Thunder's bottom bushing is a lot taller. The top bushing doesn't come into play as much. They're the same height, they look relatively the same, but yeah, bushing height, we should have been looking at that. Okay, so Ventures have the lowest bushing height. Now this makes sense that they're more stable, because this part of the hanger right here, where it rests, is gonna be sitting lower, and Thunder's is gonna be sitting higher. So that's gonna change how it turns. I can't figure it out exactly in my head, but yeah, that's really interesting. Now let's take a look at the Aces. So the Ace has a way taller bushing than the Venture. The Ace has an even taller bushing, like by a mil, than a Thunder. So that's very interesting. So there's a part of geometry that we hadn't looked into. Bushing height. Very interesting. Can't figure out exactly how that changes. Indies have a low bushing height, the same height as the Venture. So that's part of what adds to Indies being a little more stable than something like an Ace, which has a taller bottom bushing. Wow, you guys, this is crazy. There's more here than I could really figure out. Hopefully it's helped bring you more understanding of trucks and all the differences. I'm not encouraging you to ride any different trucks, just ride what you love. But maybe this video will help you understand why you like the truck you like. So to me, when I see that low bottom bushing on an Indy, that tells me why it feels more stable to me. And the fact that the wheelbase is a little bit in, but not too far in, I don't know. This has been one of my winning combinations so far. All the other trucks have to be on the right board for me, but Indies are the one truck that I can ride on almost any single board. So that's why I like them the most. Yeah, now I'm done here. That last little bit about the bushings was pretty interesting. What about the top bushings? Oh, Ace have a really tall top bushing too. Indies have a very low top bushing. What about Ventures? Ventures have a low top bushing too. Ace have the tallest bushings overall in this whole thing. So that's also going to help add to that depth of turn that they have somehow. So interesting. I have more questions than answers from when I started the video. Again, I'm rambling. I'm surprised I'm even still talking. I hope you guys got something out of this. This was super interesting to me. I'm not going to sleep tonight. Thanks for watching. Just keep skating. On that note, why don't we end it with a little bit of skating from the boys the other day.
Oh my God, it's slick. Yeah.
Okay, you guys, so where were we? All right, we talked about three things. It was wheelbase, kingpin lean, and bushing height. So those are three things that affect your truck geometry. And I wound up with like more questions than answers after filming that, and my brain was exploding. And the next morning, as I was sitting in this exact seat, having my coffee, I thought of a bunch of other things that are gonna contribute to what truck geometry is. I'm not going to go too much into depth because they're hard to measure things, but it kind of explains how like the only way to truly understand the exact geometry of a truck is like to put the thing in an AutoCAD computer program and like look at it with actual measurements and angles, which is ridiculous unless you're designing trucks. And I'm just a dude talking about trucks. So let's look at a couple more of the things though that determine what a truck's geometry is. So a fourth one that I kind of glossed over is axle height. Axle height is going to determine the truck geometry, right? Because we mentioned that the Thunder and the Venture were very similar, but they have totally different axle heights and totally different bottom bushing. So this part, I think this is called the yoke. This part of the truck sits lower on a Venture than a Thunder, and the axle is up higher. So those are two differences that a Venture has over a Thunder, which is why even though they have two similarities, those two differences are going to be why the Venture feels different. So another one I thought of is like how tall the base plate goes. Now, on all the trucks I've been no, the Ace has a lower one. So the base plate right here on the Ace goes lower. So another one we didn't talk about is like, where does the pivot cup sit in relation to the bolt holes? And how long is it from like the top of the hanger to the pivot cup? So as you can see, there's like so many factors that if we actually took the time to try to measure and explain all those things, it would be ridiculous. And personally, like as a father of four who is working and making videos all the time, like I don't have the time to get into all that stuff. I should be honest, when I say working, I mean making YouTube videos, but believe it or not, that takes up a lot of my time. Because as you know, I've got at least a couple channels going at any given moment. But anyways, those are some of the further thoughts I had about truck geometry. Like, it's more than just those 3 things we talked about at the start. It's all of these things and how they all intertwine. That's what makes the difference in your trucks. So yes, skateboard trucks are a truly underappreciated product when it comes to how much R&D goes into designing a skateboard truck. Like, there's so much. They're very in depth, and if they don't get it right, they get a product that isn't that good. And that's why we've seen so many skateboard trucks launched and fail. You know what I mean? Like, there's not a lot of skateboard truck brands compared to like deck brands. You know, there's even more wheel brands than there are skateboard truck brands, although there's not as many as there used to be. And that's because basically, like, Bones STF came and they were the best for a long time. And then Spitfire Formula 4 came, and they're clearly, you know, when you look at how many, it's not just marketing. Like, Formula 4s are amazing wheels. They're the only ones I ride. And yeah, anyways, I'm totally veering off. I'm tangenting. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Just Keep Skating, whatever it is. Is it an episode? No, it's just a video. Hope you liked it. If you did, thank you. Okay, I gotta go. I gotta edit this thing. I've been sitting on it for like a week. All right, thanks for watching, you guys. Till the next one.